All right, so today's key is simple. It's limit ego. So what is ego? Someone listening might not even know what ego is. Ego is the voice inside your head that identifies with thoughts. It's this voice in your head that's identifying with thoughts that you have. So ego is this. Some people have internal dialogue, an internal narrative. Apparently, some people don't have this, which is hard for me to kind of wrap my mind around. But ego is that little voice in your head. When your eyes open, when you wake up in the morning, you'll notice that thoughts just kind of pop into your head. You've got, maybe you have to go to work. Maybe you're instantly regretting what you did last night. Maybe you're realizing that you're late. You could be late for a meeting. You just, when you wake up, your mind's kind of just catapulting ideas and thoughts at you. And that's ego. So people have a nature to their thoughts. People are more gripped by negative emotion. So this is called the negativity bias. We're gripped by negative emotion. Positive emotion's great when it comes along, but for the most part, we're on guard for these negative emotions. So what happens when you don't limit your ego? You start to identify with those thoughts. Let me think of one that I might have. All right, here's a good one. For example, a long time ago, this was probably in high school, I thought my nose was huge, and I thought I was the ugliest thing to walk across the earth. I was like, my nose is so big. It's the first thing people notice about me. They think I'm ugly. They don't want to talk to me because my nose is so big. Okay? Kind of absurd, right? But when I was, an adolescent, a teenager, I was like feeding into that. I literally validated, my ego validated that thought that my nose is too big. So we start with the nose is too big. And then because I validated that, the ego built another idea off that and said, people don't like me because my nose is so big. Then once that's solidified and that gets validated, on top of that, maybe the pinnacle is just, I'm a terrible person. So you can see when you validate your ego and you build subsequent thoughts off of a negative idea, you're building this tower that's just going to crumble at some point. And you just get so down on yourself, and that's just identifying with ego. So what can we do about this? Limit your ego. This is the key for today. This is the most important thing we're going to cover is limiting your ego. The opposite of ego is presence. So presence is that antidote to ego. So here's a simple protocol. Anytime you notice yourself having an irrational negative thought, whatever that might be for you, it could be I'm lazy. It could be I'm not disciplined. It could be I'm not creative enough. Whenever you have that thought, take it captive, recognize it. And what I like to do to get present is I let the thought go and I zoom out for myself. So if I'm hiking and I have a negative thought, I literally take it captive, recognize it, and I zoom out like a drone. And I literally I'm over top of myself, watching myself walk through the hike. And I zoom out to build that presence. And I go, oh, I'm in nature. I'm walking. I'm healthy. That little bit of 0.5 perspective on your presence, what you're doing at the current moment, can help you not feed into your ego. So there you go. Limit that ego. All right. So today's shelf item, like I said, it's a goodie, something a little bit different. Boom. Get a good look at that. And if you can't see or what have you, it's a Magic Mind. And Magic Mind, I get these at Sprouts. I'm sure you can get them online. It's a 4-pack of these Magic Minds. And let's read a little bit about what's in them if you want to try it for yourself. It's got lion's mane, bacopa, and cognizin for mental performance, L-theanine, ashwagandha, turmeric for less stress. We all want less stress, huh? And then it's got some words I can't pronounce like rhodiola, cordyceps, and matcha, and a lot of vitamins. B2, B3, B12, C, and D for vitality. So anyways, try the Magic Minds. I got so many Instagram ads for them. I caved in and I got them. So here we go. And let's take a little sip of this. All right, Magic Mind. Here we come. That's a good sound. Here we go. Magic Mind. And that's one shot down the hatch. And this has 50 milligrams of caffeine. So if you like caffeine, maybe looking for a little replacement, try the Magic Minds. And that's the shelf item for today. And now we're going to keep it moving as our format continues, and we're going to get into our rule of the day. So this rule of today, for today, is read and write daily. Reading is one way to take in information. You can get information a lot of ways. You can watch YouTube, you can watch movies, you could talk to people. But reading, I find, is a great way to get information. There's something about seeing visually words and then your internal narrative, identifying with outside ideas, outside perspectives, but typically those are positive and beneficial to your life. So we already talked about ego, and we talked about negative ego and how to limit that. So reading, it's a way to get good ideas into your mind when you read. And I like, some people do the audiobooks nowadays, but I like the old-fashioned, I'm going to sit in this chair with no technology. I'm going to look at a page and see little scribbles, and that scribbling, I'm going to be able to interpret it, and I'm going to think about it, And what a lot of people, I think, fail to realize if they don't read is that when you read, you don't remember everything. You forget most of it, actually. But you remember more than you realize. Like, I'll read stuff that I read maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and all of a sudden, at some point in my life, the knowledge that I consumed 2 or 3 years ago clicks into place at some relevant current moment thing. And so reading, man, I think people just think it's a waste of time, or they think it's hard, or they think it's boring, but it's like, man, reading is so important. And then I paired, this rule with write daily. You don't got to be posting a blog post or anything, but just get out a piece of paper, get a pen, and write down just your general thoughts on the day. Write down like kind of where you're at in life, what you're thinking, what you're feeling, what you're anticipating. Get that out on the paper so that doesn't have to fester in your mind. You kind of can see it for yourself when you write it, and you can organize it externally so that when you go about your day, you're not all discombobulated and confused and disoriented on what you need to do and focus on. Because that morning, I like to do these things in the morning. You do it in the morning, and then you kind of organize your internal thought patterns and perception. So read and write daily. You might as well just do it, And if you don't, then it's not the end of the world. Cool. Let's keep it moving. More value for you guys. Thank you guys for tapping into the keys. I'm so grateful that you guys are here, checking out the little channel. And man, it just means so much if you guys are here for the journey. I don't care about likes. I don't care about views. Like, I just want to impact people positively and provide value. Okay. Today's quote: "It's better to be on offense with the potential of scoring rather than defense with the relative fear." Let me unpack this a little bit. It's better to be on offense than defense is the concise version. Now, why would that be? Well, this spawned from a conversation I had with my dad on the phone probably about a month or two ago. And we were getting deep, kind of philosophical, and I asked him, like, kind of what's orienting you in life? Where do you get meaning from? And his response was along the lines of, he tries to limit his negative emotion. And I thought that was so interesting, because my orientation in life is I'm pursuing positive emotion. I'm maximizing positive emotion. whereas his response was, I want to minimize negative emotion. And these very much correlate. They're not radically different ideas. They're kind of the same idea, but it's better to be on offense with the potential of scoring. It's like when you work towards a goal, when you have the potential to become more than what you are, that's motivating. That's driving you forward. That's causing you to increase your production, to improve when you have a meaningful potential in front of you. Now, how is that different from being on defense or what have you? This is a metaphor. When you're on defense, you're just trying to stop. You have the relative fear of getting scored on when you're on defense. It's kind of you're on defense. Social interactions. If you go into a social interaction on defense, you're all defensive. That interaction is not going to go as good as it could if you were focused on offense. So if two people come together, and guess what? If they're both on defense, they're both limiting their negative emotions. They don't want to get made fun of. They don't want to be exposed. They don't want to be embarrassed. Two people on defense, they get nowhere. They both recluse. There's no productivity between the two socially. So now think about that. Two people come together and they're both on offense. What does that mean? It means that they're interested in the other person. They're asking questions. It's something that people just don't do anymore nowadays for some strange reason. People don't even ask you a simple, hey, how was your trip to Mexico? People just don't ask questions. So if two people are on offense, they want to get to know each other. They want to uplift the other person. So when two people are on offense, when they're interested and they're reciprocating positive energy and they want what's best for the other person, for themselves, you can have a great dialogue because you're on offense and you have that mindset. And that can be applied to so many things, man. If you're scared to go to the gym, because let's say you've never been and you want to start going to the gym. Most people are scared to go to the gym that have never been. They think everyone there is going to point and laugh at them as they walk through the doors. Ha ha, he's trying to get better and he thinks he's able to be stronger. People have that crazy idea that ego will get in the way and it'll scare some people and they go to the gym on defense. They don't want to try a new machine because they think someone's going to see them fumbling around and not knowing what to do. Now, if you go into the gym on offense, thinking I can get better, I have the opportunity to meet other more experienced, advanced lifters that can help me get better. I get to ask them questions. I get to pick their brain on what they do and how they see progress. It's just an offense versus mindset, or offense versus defense mindset. So better to be on offense rather than defense. All right, I think I need a sip because I do get out of breath. When I talk. So thank you guys for sticking around. Really appreciate it. And I never want to come off as disingenuous. I know I'm still practicing podcasting and I'm not a professional by any means. And I'm sure I'm annoying sometimes and probably come off as a show off a lot. And I'm just trying to get better. All right, let's wrap out this podcast. This is going to be a little bit longer because we got some good keys here, boy. All right. So this is a question that somebody submitted through the Instagram Close Friends. If you're not on the Instagram or following me there, check me out. I post a lot on there. Get into the Close Friends if you can. And the question today is, what's one belief you held on to for years that you've recently outgrown, and what replaced it? Well, I wouldn't say I held on to this for years, but it was about 1 year. When I started this little podcasting thing, I thought that what was in my head was like of utmost value in my life. So before I start podcasting, before I start putting my face, my voice, my ideas, my, consciousness out there, when I started, I was sitting on so many ideas and thought patterns for so many years. I mean, they started in college when I was having my first real thoughts of my own. So from college, which was, 2015, almost a decade ago. What the fuck? That's crazy. But when I was in college, I started having my own ideas. And I started this podcast a year ago. That whole time in between, I was like, I thought these ideas I had were like so profound and valuable. And I thought that, man, when I get on the podcast and I start sharing this, that people would just be, no one cares what's in your head. I've talked about this on previous podcasts, but I've realized that no one cares what's in my head. Praise God, no one cares what's in my head, you know? So that's a belief that I had I guess I did have it for years. I thought that my thoughts were treasure, and and I wouldn't let people get too close to me because, if they were a negative person, I was fearful to share my ideas and have them shot down or have them invalidated. So I was kind of a recluse for a while, I'm sorry about that if that affected you, whoever you are. But it's a belief that I don't have going into 2025 with my podcast. I know no one cares what's in my head. People care about value to them. Stop thinking about what's in your head and start thinking about listeners. Start thinking about viewers. Start thinking about, if I was on the other side of the screen watching this guy talk, he had better be saying something relevant and valuable to me. And if he's not, I'm not watching it. That's how it works. That's the game that we're playing. So now I just try and provide value to people, and I hope to continue to improve at this. I know I'm imperfect, and I know I've already done enough self-pity on this little episode, but I don't believe that what's in my head is important. I believe that what I know has value to other people, and it's a mission of mine to articulate this to other people and to reach as many people as possible. That's why I do this technology podcast. But anywho, that's the keys for today. I think we did it. And I love you guys. Like and subscribe if you thought this was valuable. And we'll catch you on the next key.